the smarter you are, the worse you are at running businesses. Designers are screwed, copywriters are screwed, all the hype SaaS apps that levels and them guys are throwing on the timelines and those shitty playing games. Those things are great hype cycles, but those things are not the things that are gonna get a young Zimbabwean guy um, running a business going forward and be distinct, look after his family and buy a home, etc., etc. So some of these businesses, guys, are boring businesses, right, dog? I take insults for being Mr. Veg on the internet every single day, but you know what? My kids go to my schools, right? I don't think it's a car I can't walk into Zimbabwe right now and buy, right? And that's the truth, right? And
this week we are changing it up. We have Kuda, who's been writing code on and off for like a long time, building startups. I don't think he's someone who really needs an introduction. Like, if anyone has been in the tech space, you know who Kuda is, right? For like all the big things that is done, and sometimes even like the big flops. So yeah, so I think there's obviously a lot of Kuda.
Yeah, huge flops.
Yeah, there's some flops. It's not huge. Like I'm a big believer in failing up. So the larger the failure, it means like the next step is always gonna be at a bigger stage, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna do too much on the introduction. We have his talk, why writing code won't make you rich. I don't think the focus is on the money, but I think the focus here is like, okay, you're writing code, right? How can you like try and utilize that in the best way, right? So you shouldn't be stuck writing code in your 8 to 5 every single day while not reaping the benefit of that. So I won't talk too much. I'll head over to Kuda. Kuda, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mike, and thank you very much to the community for inviting me in. I regularly come in as a ghost, so I don't want to be the old guy in the club all the time. But I figure being one of your elders in this space, it was an important conversation that you guys had last week, and I thought that maybe I could add on top of it. Now I know Mike did put some clickbait to it. To say you'll never make money doing code, and I don't think that's supposed to be the spirit of the conversation. I kind of felt that I'm fortunate enough to be one of the middle children in history where I sometimes sandwich your generation and the generation above me. So the generation above me, you'll be looking at the MKs and the Capesos and the guys who are sort of big on Oracle and Microsoft licensing and have made millions of bucks in Zim. And then you've got the young guys like yourselves who are on the cutting edge of the best, new technologies, the AIs and so forth. And then you got us in the middle. We were the guys who pretty much fucked it up for all of y'all, because when we were coming up, we were the guys doing the PHPs and the Mambos and the Joomlas and stuff. And we were the ones charging retailers in Zimbabwe $50,000 for websites, right? And those were the good old days. Where we could really sort of tear the ass out of anything, because some of these old people did not really understand code or anything, and everyone needed a website, and we're in the .com boom. I mean, I was at the City of London University doing computer science in 1999. That's when I started. Andrew Terana Gogo, sorry Gogo. So I started computer comp sci in 1999. Now I don't know how many of you were born or were babies along that time. So you'll understand that I would consider your generation far superior in many ways to what my generation was learning. There's basically fuck all that we learned that you guys cannot eclipse us 1,000-fold, because you guys just had so much more knowledge and expertise and cooler things. You guys came up in the app generation and stuff, and we were way before that, right? So just so that I premise it, you will hear me speak like an old Bali sometimes, but I think the conversation we're having will start to affect you as well. Now, the truth of the matter is, we are facing as developers the biggest existential crisis ever for the development community. But the fortunate thing is you're not alone, right? The developers are literally the last to get frayed by this particular AI bubble that's coming, wave, tsunami that's coming. you'll notice people like Sachi and Sachi and, Baka Ogilvy, DDH&M, they've pretty much fired all their copywriters and people who are really important and highly paying, and I'll translate as a millennial, Mike. So people like DDH&M and stuff, they're no longer paying people like copywriters. There's a lot of jobs that have totally been replaced over the years as the years have progressed. And I think now with the cusp of these LLMs that can write great code, the Google the 2.5s and the sonnets, etc., you guys are about to face something that we faced around the 2000s. So we tore the ass out of it during the 2000s. People were afraid of the Y2K bug and all sorts of things. And nobody understood what a website was, but everyone needed one, and we're charging copious amounts of cash. Now, I was a bit of the full stacks of those days were a guy who could also open up Photoshop, a guy who could also do designs and all these other things. And we steadily seen the erosion of the expertise we used to have with the advancements of technologies around, right? So my cinema 3D skills mean nothing in a day when Canva can spit out pretty much the majority of the graphic work that I could have done as a young man. And I've steadily seen expertise being taken away by technology and having to adapt, moving on and on and on, right? So designers are screwed, copywriters are screwed, videographers pretty much, believe it or not, when we were shooting people like Junior Brown's videos 15 years ago, we used to have to hire red cameras for $5,000 a week or a day. I mean, you guys can shoot better footage. So the devs are now going to experience something that I have sort of had to ride a few times in my professional career. Now this old, 46-year-old dad with kids who are now 23. And there's going to have to be a navigation. And I believe that the conversation about code has now been pretty much commodified to the extent that very soon everything, all the hype SaaS apps that Levels and them guys are throwing on the timelines and those shitty playing games, those things are great hype cycles, but those things are not the things that are going to get a young Zimbabwean guy running a business going forward and be sustained. They look after his family and buy a home, etc., etc. There's going to have to be a learning in the dev community that, yes, you guys are probably the most brilliant, highest IQ individuals of your generation because you guys can understand logic and code at a very high level. But where the geeks are going to suffer the most, and I've learned it with my generation especially, is that the smarter you are, the worse you are at running businesses, right? We get very caught up in the greatness of our code and the penetration testing and the dopeness of the looks and the CSSs that we've done. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to look at ourselves in the mirror and realize that when you build a great product, which you guys can now do very, very well by yourselves, with less of a team than we used to need. I'll give you an example. The Fresh Ideas team, I see some of them are in here. There was a time when the Fresh Ideas team was 12 people. I think it was Pupurai and Cyprian and KP and Chichichi, and we had a bunch of guys, Genius and Ryan and so forth, right? So we had a bunch, and we used to be at either Fresh Farm or Belvedere or whatever. There's a ton of us, and now I know that particular team could easily now be synthesized with one guy. Like you could probably take a Cyprian right now and give him cursor, and he would pretty much be able to output what the other guys used to do, right? And you wouldn't need the big team that's all a lot of money being taken for salaries, etc. And I think what I do appreciate about the Fresh Mafia guys is they'll understand that at the time we're building great tech, we quickly realized that the great tech is not what our clients cared about. The clients actually cared about the service delivery, the running the business, the speed of logistics, etc. And we quickly discovered that what the tech that the clients were facing was not nearly as important as the tech that was needed to actually run the businesses efficiently. what was our CRM looking like? What was our marketing package looking like? We're going to pay something off the shelf, or we're going to integrate with something off the shelf, or we're going to write something from scratch. And these are the things that I'm sort of urging you guys as the younger generation to start looking at and say, at what point will you keep trying to build the client-facing applications that bring you the money? At what point will you start seeing that, no, I'm going to have to come up with some great innovative problem-solving ideas for myself and write something that's going to help me and my partners and my friends or whatever, my business colleagues, be able to run businesses properly so that you can actually become successful in this environment. Make no mistakes, young developers from Zim. You are living in a fourth world country. We are in a very weird flux of being very upwardly mobile and being very progressive in the way that we've been enculturated by the vast amounts of media that make us even speak the way we do, versus the actual realities of the 70% ruralization of our nation, right? What is it that we are building that matters to the 70% that come from Gutu, Gokwe, etc.? So in my life, and I'm just giving you as a testimony, you'll see on my timeline, we're opening up shops, selling basic Chinese crap and various other things, right? Because you see trade and industry and commerce is something that I can see that on a daily basis. I can look at a dashboard, I can manage a POS, I can manage my stuff, clock-ins, I can watch my team, with cameras, and we can actually open up different stores in the country and know that every day we have a certain amount of revenue that's coming in. Now, that puts me in a great position, whereas if I go back in time to maybe 5-6 years ago, when what we're doing is hungrily looking for work and dev work for the team, and then maybe get a big score, but then all of a sudden that big score gets squandered. What happened to Fresh in a Box, guys? It just rebranded, so you can go to tillpoint.co.zw. It's pretty much the same thing, but then we had to shake off the pharma element because we've now diversified into many other products. So just go to tillpoint.co.zw, and that's it. You can pretty much get the same service, and it's fast. I mean, we believe we're faster than Amazon Prime. I mean, we can get you in 2 hours in Harare, which is pretty great. And these are some of the things that I keep saying. The tech doesn't make us get you in 2 hours. It's the procurement, it's the logistics, it's the drivers, it's managing the cash flows, and it's dealing with the farmers, etc., etc. That's the stuff that I was going to maybe speak to you guys about. Say the code is now commodified. What businesses are we as developers now building? And remember, there's tons of products and services that are needed in this country. And how are we using our skill sets of being able to manage logic and great systems to build that logic and great systems in actual business? So that I don't become overly verbose, because I can talk forever. I was hoping Mikey could open it up so we can have a conversation about why I feel that AI is the biggest existential crisis for developers. And I genuinely believe that we could wake up in 2 years or maybe quicker and actually look at ourselves and say, shit, like natural language processing is the thing. People are not talking to their watches and things are happening around them, and websites are now dead because AI can now do things with this agentic experience. And we are now at the back foot because basically the AI companies and the big megaliths are going to be able to do stuff that we used to be paid a lot of money to do. Mikey, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Kuda. Thanks for the nuggets so far. I think I've just been picking up a lot of things. Someone said before this, right? Someone was worried the guy from Fresh in a Box, like when I told my developers to quit code and become farmers. So I'm glad you didn't do that. I'm glad you're encouraging people to just find better ways of actually harnessing these skills, right? And I think the AI part you bring in is very, very important. I think AI is moving at a significantly fast rate, right? Because I think last year we had like coding models, like, oh, this is cool, right? This is cool. You can write a few lines for me, but I still need to be here, right? And now with the Claude 3.7, the Gemini 2.5, yesterday they released GPT-04, right? And like they're getting very, very good. Which now you just like put a prompt and it will do most of the work, right? I don't know. I just want to hear from you, like, where do you see this going, right? Do you think like developers are just gonna like become irrelevant, like probably in the next 2 years, or we're still there for something and we just need to find better ways of I don't know, positioning ourselves in the industry?
Great. So, a great question. I look, if we're looking at the room today, and let's say we're about 60 of us today, right? Basically, the 1% will probably be able to survive the tsunami that's coming. And that's because, you see, not all of us are building great systems and great stuff. Some of us are getting by doing websites or, doing receipting systems and stuff like that, right? And I think some of that stuff is getting really, really commodified the more and more we look at it. I mean, I think it was December time, Mike, you were talking about Bolt, and I was going crazy about Bolt. And now Bolt is actually a piece of shit compared to the stuff that's come out. I was looking at Windsurf the other day and I was thinking, geez, we had wave 5 like a week ago. Now we have wave 6, and now we have free GPT on it, and these IDs are, and now we have Firebase Studio and all these things that are coming out. And I'm genuinely thinking, my God, the stuff we're seeing today is the worst it's ever going to be. And we are now in a position where we can look into the future. And like I said, I've been in this position before, bro. Like, I've sat there before and we watched WordPress come and take our money. Because there was a time when we had to do that from scratch, PHP and all this. And I saw WordPress coming and it was, it's the end of web design, everyone's going to move to WordPress. But then we saw new people come in who were WordPress ninjas. Now, these guys didn't go to university, whatever. They just knew how to use WordPress really, really fucking well, right? And then they went with it, right? Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. Maybe we can, we can build complex, systems for shops. And like I did a really big one for Spa with the My Club and stuff. And that was a bunch of cash at the time. And now I'm looking at some of the off-the-shelf stuff that's being built now. And it's like, we're no longer relevant. I mean, you can pretty much slap on an Odoo or slap on a Zoho or whatever. And some of these things are now taking away. So I have seen this before. And what I'm saying right now is what I'm seeing right now, Mikey, is something that we cannot nonchalantly walk into and think, oh my God, we're going to be fine, right? I'm going to continue building crap apps and flight simulator games with 3JS and it's going to be fucking lacquer. It's not going to be lacquer, because you can see with the amount of noise that's happening already, we no longer care about these 3D games on the timeline anymore. It's like, it was great 2 months ago. It's already like stale. Because number one, the games are shit, but now anyone can make shit games, right? And at what point do we look at ourselves and say, right, am I gonna jump into this frame and start coding some shit?
Thank you.
Sorry, let me just mute.
Farai, sorry, please mute yourself.
All right, guys. So please, let's make sure all mute.
The China Gogo. Gogo, please forgive me. I must say them out. I'm so sorry, Gogo. I'm going to try to not use cuss words. But I think it's my most expressive, very expressive. I sincerely apologize. So like I'm saying, Mike, with the way things are going, you and I will be having a totally different conversation in a week's time. Like right now, we can all agree that Google, Firebase Studio is garbage. It's absolute trash.
Yeah.
But can you and I right now hand on heart say, no, Google's going to keep it garbage for the next 2 weeks? It's impossible, bro. Like, we know what's coming and how these things are working. So right now, we're still at a cool stage where it's Mike and Cyprian and George and Samuel. And these are the cool guys who are coding now and getting away with halving or sometimes 10xing what they used to do from their mind. But tell me something, bro. The day that my wife can now prompt her website or her invite or whatever is the day that I, as a husband who she used to heavily rely on for that service, and become useless, right? And I think we should not be myopic and saying, oh no, it's gonna be fine. This is gonna make us richer. I believe AI is gonna make a lot of rich people, but I also believe that if we do not coast our way into building the kind of systems that run our own businesses and that can make us our own money in a more traditional sense, we will be left behind.
Oh yeah. Kuda, sorry, I've just a quick additional question. Like upgrade to Colgate. Oh, sorry. Yeah. do you think that with how we're doing like with AI right now, it's sort of an era like when we got introduced to like Mapadza and those, kind of tools where, it's an advancement in human knowledge or how humans work and stuff like that. Do you think we're sort of in that phase that's gonna upskill humans to become better, or AI is just gonna make people a little bit dumber if they don't know how to use it?
No, I think the Mapadza analogy, I would take it more to the stage of what we're experiencing right now is the Henry Ford moment. It's the moment when motor vehicles become ubiquitous, right? And remember, it was incremental. They first came bicycles, which sort of 10x the human's ability to move long distances. Then the motor vehicle, which makes it easy for me right now to drive to Joburg and be there by tomorrow morning. This stuff was unheard of before. And I think that, in the old days before there was cars, there was people who used to be, ushers who used to carry things on their backs and stuff. I'm just saying that we may be the ushers who are the heavy load bearers of something that will now be able to do by itself, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But then the problem now is with people that are thinking that, just like what you mentioned, they're like, because AI is now here, and we're building apps in 2 days and stuff like that. What does it like comes to like when it comes to like pricing now? Because I mean, we now do things in a shorter period of time. With pricing, are we still gonna keep on charging the same price, or maybe we will drop a bit?
I genuinely believe we won't be able to continue going this route. I believe that we may have, especially in Zimbabwe, another year of taking the piss when as people catch up. I genuinely believe it. But there used to be a time when, thank you, my wife. My wife just bought me coffee, guys. You can all get married. Marry up, guys.
Word.
So there used to be a time, believe it or not, right? There used to be a time when I could charge $500 for a flyer. Now it sounds unreasonable to think about now because there's a kid in town who'll do it for $5. But there's literally a time I could charge a corporate in Zimbabwe with $500 for an ad campaign, right? And we just masturbation way of saying I'll design one flyer and change the graphic 3 times, right? And there was a time we enjoyed that money. I assure you, like I bought my first house in Monaville with that hustle. But I can assure you that came to a crashing end. I've seen musicians, many of you don't know, but I love playing instruments and producing music and stuff. And there was a time when like I actually learned to play the guitar, the piano, and I learned drums and I could read music. I got honors at Stedford as a child. That was great. But now, if you look at Rayo Beats, I mean, he can produce way better. And probably does not understand how to use an instrument, right? Because the tools came through and Rayo and they managed to take that in Rhymes and Juicer, and they just blew up and they got number ones with big stars. And now we're even in a position where, music can now be made by AI. So they're also facing an existential crisis. Can they still charge $3,000 a beat? Is that still possible? When you can now go to one of the numerous services and you can type in and describe Lil Wayne type beat, blah, 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 and it will literally spit out stems. I just like no one was buying beats. Like Holy 10 does not buy beats for $5,000 anymore, right? He was already paying kids $100. It's about to get worse. And I think if your whole business model is now premised on I'm great at playing guitar, and guys, I am really good at guitar. I swear I would really love to play guitar for you one day. It's been like it's a 30-40 year passion I've been sort of nurturing since I was a child, but it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter anymore.
Okay. Maybe just another question, right? I think as I'm saying this, I'm just gonna open the floor up to questions. So if anyone has any questions you wanna come to and ask, just raise your hand, and George will take over the Q&A session. So for me, right, there's something you're always saying that you're like, okay, I'm getting old and whatnot, and you're like, and I need the younger generation to take over, right? And I think something that I've consistently seen is as the kids are getting younger, right, and they're coming up and whatnot, they are really, really smart, right? And I know you have this program for kids, the Code Cadets, right, that you're running, right? I don't know, like, what are you seeing there, like in terms of how the younger kids are adopting AI, right? Because I always see, even when I train juniors, that those guys are potentially way, way smarter than me, right? Because they didn't have all the, I'll say the garbage, but like all the other stuff that I had to deal with when learning, right? Was I had to be stuck on Stack Overflow for like 4 days looking up a solution. These guys initially just go on Gemini and be like, okay, how do I solve this? Or Gemini, break this down for me, explain it, like explain every single bit, right? And you can even ask them.
Has everyone else lost mic, or is it just me?
Yeah, I think it dropped.
Well, I sort of understood the crust of his question. If you don't mind, George, I can answer.
Sure.
And say that. So,
Okay. So I dropped a bit. I don't know how much of the question you got.
We got a lot of it. So please continue.
Okay, so yeah, I was just asking like how, like in terms of like the younger generation coming up, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that and how quickly they're picking up the new technologies and whatnot? Even when you were speaking, right, you were saying, okay, when I started like graphic design, I was selling $500, right? I'm sure even the tools you were using weren't actually charging $500, right? Well, they were probably hard to learn. You had licenses to buy or crack, right? But now kids are just going on Canva and you can do a lot of things for free on Canva. You just look up a template, change a few things, $5, you're done, right? So things are becoming easier, faster, and cheaper, right? So like, what are your thoughts on that? And like the new kids coming up, picking up the technology, being super smart, smarter than us. Like, where do you see that going?
Okay, cool. Great question. So I'll first start with the quick anecdote. There was once upon a time, there was a big Hollywood movie that was being made, and we all made sign an NDA. So there's a couple of companies in Zimbabwe. There was Nafuna TV. There was another one called Co-Animation, and there was ourselves. It was called Sun Media at the time. And our job was to rotoscope flies off horses for a Hollywood film. And we're using Dropbox at the time, right? And we was imagine rotoscoping flies off horses. It was filmed at I think it was 60 frames per second. So each second had 60 frames, and we'll be going in there to rotoscope. Now, this is before blend modes. This is before being able to do like you know these new AIs where you just sort of like draw a bit of a yellow squiggle on top of it, and boom, the fly is fucked off. Like, this is the good old days. And if you look at our entire class of that time, I mean the kids from Ziva, back when whatever, we all did so well. We all got new cars and stuff because we charged a bunch of cash. And it's so weird now that you can open up ClipDrop for free and you can do the same thing for nothing, for absolutely nothing, right? So with the Code Cadets, I have a couple of students, right? And it's purely a passion project just to try and get kids involved in STEM. And mainly I was attacking my kids, but then I managed to get a couple of my colleagues' kids as well. And when you're the geek guy, you always like, couldn't do my computer. So all your friends will then dump their kids with you as well, right? And I've noticed, number one, those kids are absolutely irreverent to anything that you think you know, Mike, right? They give zero fucks. Like trying to sit them and trying to get them to just understand the bare fundamentals of setting up a database and auth and all these things. They're so irreverent because they're so used to things that come fast and easy, right? Another thing I've noticed with those with my particular Code Cadets is that they all think they're gonna be Mark Zuckerberg, right? They all have the same sort of killer app idea and stuff, and it's always never gonna work. It's absolute nonsense. But they have bigger dreams and aspirations than doing websites for their dad, right? That's the fact. So they have big aspirations, and they've got real. They're looking up to people that you and I may not know, but I've seen some of these kids on YouTube, right? We're coming there trying to teach fundamentals and boring notes and making them set up a Firebase database and Firestore. They're literally showing me these influencers on YouTube who are not technical, but prompting the shit out of Lovable and getting these great results and lying about the MRR. Right, so I've got a real problem with my kids. Right, I got a real problem because I keep trying to tell them, like, guys, okay, now this is super easy for you to do. You can now do another to-do app, another freelance app, join the other Zim devs and freelance apps. But the truth of the matter is, you're gonna have to learn how do you harness these tools and make and bring them into the passions that you actually are willing to wake up every day excited about, and then say, you know what, I'm really, really excited about sports science, and I'm going to build something that's going to really help with my business, and and move in that direction, because they're being told the dream of fast cash, and you're gonna build the, the Alex Flynn types, those ex crypto bros. They're now the new AI bros, right? And then that's the war I'm fighting with them now. Say, guys, right? Look, this is now a commodity. This is something that we can all do with our fingertips, and it is going to get better and better and better. And with Manus and some of these other agents that are coming out, you'll soon be able to tell it exactly what you want, to walk away, have a coffee, play with your wife, come back, and boom, there you have a whole system, right? And that will be by the end of this year. These kids are super smart, super impatient, and super irreverent to some of the fundamentals that, let's say, you guys went to school for, or had to learn the hard way on Stack Overflow and Reddit and all these things, trying to come up with solutions for very, very simple problems, right? They don't have those problems anymore. So we have a generational problem that I feel is going to get worse with the youngest ones, because I don't believe they're ever going to have to understand. I mean, one of my students, she's a girl, she's at Hellenic, and she has built the most intricate system I have ever seen for managing her friends and the dates and whatever else. And I was looking at this code, I'm looking at damn near 2,000 fucking files and all sorts, and trying to just decipher it, Mike. And just say, okay, how does this work? She doesn't even know, she doesn't care, right? All she knows is that she built on Lovable until it stopped working. Then she took it to Windsurf, and then has been blowing credits ever since, and just getting it to work by brute forcing it to work. And there was a big problem the other day when, like, because she had connected it to Firebase, and because that was one of the first lessons we did, like Kudara, connected to Firebase, right? And we went and looked at the usage of her app, which is being used by like her and 10 of her friends. And Firebase was already crying about, quota exceeded, and fucking, every day it's having 3 million reads and writes to the database. Because she actually had no reverence to understand that, look, is some of this stuff going to have to happen locally? Is some of this stuff going to have to, be cached? There's a bunch of stuff that she didn't care to learn. All she cared about that it was working. So I hope I'm giving you a bit of, I hope I don't sound like an old mad dad, but our kids are very, very impatient, and they're moving at breakneck speed. And what the technology is going to have to do is catch up with them, and it's going to have to be able to manage some of the idiosyncrasies. So, for example, if you look at Replit now, you can't leak your ENV file on Replit now, because they've discovered that a lot of idiots were now shipping SASs with ENV files exposed. I don't want to sound like, but I know we did that on our funding page with Africa AI, but that was not me. It was an oversight, because that was not the core product, right? It was just the fucking funding page. But you see, kids are literally shipping stuff with credentials in the code and pushing it to Git, and all sorts of weird shit is happening now. So we are we're in a weird place, guys. Like I said, middle children of history. Either you're going to survive this, is going to really, really damage our aspirations as coders, because I know what we all wanted 5 years ago, and I knew the trajectory that a bunch of you guys, because a lot of you are my younger brothers, the KPs and stuff. I knew the talent that you had, and the companies that, I think we lost KP to, I think it was Microsoft or GitHub or something, and then he went to another one. And so you guys are brilliant, I know that. But now you're looking at a place where these companies are saying, oh, we don't want junior devs anymore, and now code, AI is going to replace a bunch of our software developers soon, and is this the time now to start thinking of specializing and actually getting really good at the stuff that's replacing us, which is AI itself?
Yeah, that's honestly like the way to go, than for you to look at AI as a threat, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start utilizing it, start learning how best you can incorporate it in your work, and even just you becoming a better developer when it comes to using AI. Right. I'm gonna open up this to the other guys to ask their questions. So firstly, I'm gonna choose I think we only have two guys. If you have a question to ask or any contribution, please feel free to raise your hand. So Tadiwa Madzivire, you can go on and shoot your question, bro.
Thanks, George, and thanks, Kuda, for sharing your knowledge with the people. So I think I get what you're saying. I get the gist of everything. Um, what I'm getting is you're essentially saying like if you've got other passions, go ahead and dive into it and use like AI to support that, which you explained that you're doing with your stores, with like being able to monitor them remotely and stuff. So I'm keen to hear more on that, right? Like, because it's not everyone that's got capital. I've seen you just like open like a store in, I think it's Gweru and Mutare. So it's not like everyone that's got capital and access to that. So like, how do you then differentiate yourself? Because the good thing with code in the past was if you had the brains, you could just sit in a dark room, spin up something, and eventually you could make some money. And if you want to look for investors, you could go that route. But if you're going the capital game, you're now competing with the likes of you and people that have the backing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Tadiwa. So if I'm going to be 100% honest, right, I don't want to be the guy who says, no, I started with a fucking shoestring and this and that, and then it all blew up, right? I have to also acknowledge my privilege, and the privilege is that I have been in business now for about 8 years or so. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at some of the stores that we've just opened up, right, these are not heavily capital intensive ventures. If you look at what we've actually done is we've sort of looked for great suppliers. Some of them will give us consignment stock. We've looked for premises in the different areas, struggling businesses. We've cut deals. So you may be thinking hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, but it's not even close. What it was is sometimes the guts to say, look, I believe we can come in aggressively on price and do better customer service, and actually sell. So the conversation about capital is something I struggle to have with geniuses like yourself, because I have sat with many developers, some of them in this room, and I've seen them blow copious amounts of money on alcohol and bad behavior. And
Big wise.
and I'm saying that we won't be able to get away with that for long. I know, for example, that some of the devs who managed to get on the cusp of the Web3 got on it, made a ton of cash. That money's gone. It's finished forever. There's going to be a bunch of cash that comes out of this AI rush, and that money is going to go, guys. And it's going to move really, really, really fast. So, like I'm saying, you do have other passions. You do have other great ideas. You know, if for example, KP is building Chiround, right? If he's going to get into event management and event coordination, right? You're gonna have to go chucky with Fiesta, right? You're gonna have to actually start thinking, how do I use technology, and am I using NFT tags, and am I managing my how am I doing crowd control using AI and blah blah blah, right? And great immersive experiences with the VR, etc. You're gonna have to go into that business really well, knowing that I have the skill sets and the ability now to build all the tech that I need without expending a ton of cash, but I need real businesses now to keep me going. And like I said, some of these businesses, guys, are boring businesses, right, dog? I take insults for being Mr. Veg on the internet every single day, but you know what? My kids go to high schools, right? I don't think it's a car. I can't walk into Zimbabwe right now and buy, right? And that's the truth, right? And I get cussed up because sometimes people are angry and people are lashing out. But the truth of the matter is, it's the boring stuff that really keeps me going on a day to day. I can banter with you guys about windsurf or Lovable, whatever, on the timeline, but I assure you, what I'm not doing is building another to-do app or another fucking, another whack app because Level said so, and Peter said so, and this one says so, because the timelines lie. We don't live in those environments. We live in Zimbabwe, and we're gonna have to come up with real problem-solving solutions for our environment. Because trust me when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, there is real money in Zimbabwe. Real money. It's just not cool.
Definitely.
Thanks, Kuda. I appreciate that.
Yeah, cool. All right, McDonald, you'd raise sorry, your hand up. I'm not sure if you still have a question because you dropped it. Yeah, if you don't have a question, then Kuda, you can go ahead and yeah, probably Sean.
Hello guys.
Hey, easy.
How you doing, Kuda?
What's up, my brother?
Good. Your niece was just born today.
Congratulations, man. Baba of two.
Yes.
No, nice.
I'm just gonna admit my make just say congratulations, Kuda.
But
Yeah. Thank
All right.
you,
What, guys?
for giving us another developer. Huh?
Another developer.
I have a feeling she's going to be a vibe coder.
Before you guys start, me, I want to take credit for KP's wife and his children and everything because I was there from the beginning, man. When
For
KP
real,
was
you
guy,
heard us.
he couldn't even talk to girls in those days. I told him everything he knows, man. KP, tell them, bro.
That's true. That's true. Hey man, you're spitting facts. You're saying the truth here. I've a question. You mentioned that Zimbabwe, you know, like majority of our population in the rural areas, right? And this AI stuff is like based on technology, of which technology I said rural areas. So I don't know what's the game plan. How can you get rich with AI, but also benefiting from the population really untapped in Zim, like the rural guys?
So maybe it's better I use my own personal experience and say that
Yeah.
the whole entire our whole entire POS, CRM, EPR system was pretty much built on Windsurf, all right? And it's a self-build, it's self-hosted, and it's just it's like I said, it's technology, but the people who I'm serving in those shops and stuff, they don't care as long as their receipts are coming out and and they're being served really well in the stores. They don't actually give a fuck what technology and stuff I'm using. Now, to be honest, I could have gone to Craig at Total Retail on Churchill and say, dude, we need a POS system, we need this, and we need this. And Craig would have charged me $5 grand. Because Craig is still in that time warp. You know those Varungus. I mean, if you want to see Varungu software, Babaka, and I church road, what about the Total Retail, Craig. I think at Zimbabwe, Roma store, and he's not. And these are the old Microsoft Dynamics niggas. I'm not even talking you niggas with Next.js and Vue and nice things. No, we're talking old school, fucking glorified spreadsheets, right? And these guys made cake. But now I can start a business and not have to rely on having to pay a ton of cash for someone like Craig at Total Retail and actually get going myself, right? I don't have to interface with any other technology company because now we have the ability in our hands. Like KP, you remember, bro, when we were struggling with the Let's Farm.Africa app and stuff like that. And can you imagine if we had that problem today? It would be a weekend in booze and we'll be done, bro. And so this is some of the things I'm now realizing that shit as the economy changes, as software becomes more commodified with AI. My job now is saying, look, how am I going to keep going for the next 10, 20 years with my family? What businesses am I starting? People need to eat. People need places to live. People, this is the way I'm thinking because I know for a fact next year I won't be able to walk into any corporate and say, I have a solution. Because chances are they'll have a bunch of Mikeys sitting in there who are 10 years younger who say, yeah, now we can do that with Replit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so are you saying that we should sort of like become entrepreneurs and then leverage the skills that we have at tech and the AI to embark on like entrepreneurial moves?
Yes, AP, because you all are entrepreneurs. You guys are the products of the Zuckerbergs and the Musks, and you guys saw people in the dot-com boom in the 2000s make great apps and make a lot of money. So I would not want to waste your time and say the people we're talking to, the 78 whatever people, all of you here don't want to be entrepreneurs. That's bullshit. All of you want to run companies. Are you great at running companies? Do you have great ideas? Now you have the tools to build the great technology to help you leverage and catapult yourself with your great ideas. You all want to build something great. I know this, right? If you didn't, KP, you wouldn't have built which round. Right? You don't want to just work for other people. You have great ideas. I've spoken to you over the last 8 years over many great ideas that you would like to implement as a young entrepreneur because you see yourself in the yacht as Zuckerberg one day. I know this. A lot of young developers do. And that time, guys, it came, right? And now you don't need what Zuckerberg did to build a Facebook. You now have superpowers. What are you going to do with these superpowers before these superpowers get disseminated to the rest of the world? Because trust me, guys, there used to be people called typists, right? I remember my sister, she's 50 something now. When she came out of school, she did bad at the A levels because she played a bunch. She used to play basketball. and she did the first thing she did was called top flight secretarial. And one of the biggest exams there was typing letters and shit. Can you imagine? Now, you couldn't even imagine that right now, that there was thing called like a person who would be hired because they were a great touch typist for a company. Right? We are going to go, we're getting there too. There will be a time when websites now become someone says something in a microphone and it's done for a company that sells dog underwear, whatever, right? And they won't need KP or Kuda or Mikey anymore. So we're getting to that stage quickly. So I'm saying, what are we doing as young developers who have entrepreneurial dreams and ambitions? And definitely the aptitude, because you guys are smart. Writing code is not a joke. You guys have the aptitude. What you guys sometimes now lack is the rivindi and risk. You are risk averse in such a way that you're too perfectionist. You want things to be perfect, whatever. And I'm saying, take an example from me, probably the dumbest person in this room, I assure you, when it comes to code, and say, no, sometimes we don't need you guys to have a perfect product, whatever else. We sometimes need you guys to move, because he who dares wins. And if you have that killer business idea and you have the tools now to build that idea, go for it now. You don't have a lot of time, right? Go for it now, because you have a lot of tech that you can now leverage. You have AI that can do stuff that, shit, KP, you were there when we used to have a guy who used to have to look at our data at Fresh in a Box. Like, fuck, man, if I had chat GPT in those days, I mean, we could have fired 10 guys, dog. Like, right? So we have a lot of power in our hands now. And I'm saying, guys, please, let's leverage it. Let's not be the clever guys who saw this coming, the clever guys who use these tools and built fucking horrible 3D fly games and didn't actually look at this opportunity in the countries that we live in. Because I don't look at Zimbabwe alone. I look at South Africa, Zambia and stuff. And those guys are behind you. Trust me when I say this. Right? You guys have crazy abilities. Use them now and start leveraging them and start growing yourselves, because trust me, there's going to come a point when Microsoft Word will replace the typist.
Yeah. Hey, good answer, bro.
What is yours?
Oh, I was asking KP. Are you
Yes,
answered?
I've been answered, guys. Let's start businesses and add value. That's what I'm getting here.
Amen.
Yes. Right. Cool, man. Let's see what else. Yes, the rain. Sorry, I'm thinking of rain, man. Right. Cool. Rufaro, you have your hand up, and you can go ahead and contribute.
Can I pass to Sean, because he's had his hand up for quite a while? So Sean,
Go on.
George, it's FIFO, not LIFO.
No, bro, like I won't explain myself, man. You are even a
Yeah, man. Thanks, Kuda, for the presentation, for the knowledge share. Like, really appreciate it. I just had a quick question, maybe just to build on what Kuda, the previous Kuda already shared. Like, I have this question which always like often troubles me to say that as developers, we have these brilliant ideas. We sometimes even mimic like what we see in the first world country, but like us in the environment that we live in, we do not necessarily have the same environment that the first world country has. So for example, case in point, in Africa, basically our population, less than 40% has access to mobile phones or even internet. But we would like to build platforms that heavily rely on internet and smartphones. So to me, that kind of brings up like a disconnection between what we think can be the future or the reality of something that that we need to provide, like the solutions that we need to provide, but we're not actually addressing the solutions that are needed now. And also, as developers, sometimes we lack the business acumen to like understand that once you then have the product needs to be operated. So I think this is something that you yourself might have experienced as a business owner, that it's not only about the code, it's also about the relationships, about the deals, about the negotiation skills. So I don't know if you can just fill in that gap or share some knowledge on how you managed to overcome some of these challenges and the mindset that we need to have, like as we progress, as we look for solutions for the environment that we are in today.
Thanks, Sean. I mean, you actually quite articulated something really important, which may be getting lost in my verbosity, is that learning to be operators of businesses is going to become a fundamental crux in getting you guys from the stage where you're great coders to great business people. What forced me to get some business acumen, despite being a very unlikable character sometimes. I mean, I don't want to lie, right? I hate people generally, like most coders. I like my own time. I can chill on my computer by myself in the mountain for days and not give zero fucks about human beings. But the truth of the matter is, like I said, I've dealt with this existential problem before. There came a time when I was no longer good enough by myself, even in the tech and software space, right? I was meeting guys like Bakani and Cyprian and stuff, and these guys are prodigies, and they were just so much better at it. They were faster. They knew better technologies and better tools than I did. I was still very old school, and it got to a time when I had to learn to let go and let some of the better guys, which in your case is going to be the AI, is let the guys who are better than you do what they do, so you can build businesses around the technology. Now, when we talk about you guys coding, remember, I'm not saying you guys all have to build the killer app that everyone must access off a smartphone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I want you to look at Delta in Zimbabwe right now. And Delta's operations, like what the CEO system is, that 90% of Delta's operations is software, right? It's systems, right? And they were built by people like yourselves, right? If you look at InScore, for example, 90% of that business, apart from logistics and rearing chickens and the whole in-school way, but looking at Zimbisa, for example, a lot of that is software, right? But they're not making money from the software. They're making money from selling chicken, fried chicken and chips. But the software is what makes that whole enterprise continue to exist perpetually on and on and on and on. And what I'm trying to say is that let's stop looking at software in some of these guys is that, no, we need to have the killer Facebook moment or the killer OpenAI moment. Say, no, what are we building or what are we latching on to as brains with technological minds so that we can help people or help ourselves build really robust businesses that give us a good living going forward. Now, the problem with a lot of the geeks, and I've especially on a personal capacity, when I've teamed up and partnered with fellow geeks and the nerds, is that the individualism and the Mbimbindo Ganes always sets in, and sometimes big deals get fucked up because everyone wants to be the Elon Musk, everyone wants to be the Steve Jobs, everyone wants to be the whatever. But there's now a place for the Steve Wozniaks. There is now a place for the for the Tim Cooks, the guys who can actually get the systems around you and get things running. So in my speech, if I at all sound like I'm asking you guys to venture out on your own and take these risks by yourselves, no, I want to be very clear. There are going to be guys who are better speakers than you. There's going to be guys who are better marketers than you. There are going to be guys who cannot systemically think logically like you do. And all I'm saying is that the sooner we can start breaking down some of these barriers, the better, so that we can start building businesses like Delta, which sells sugar water, but are heavily reliant on the knowledge base that you guys have at your fingertips.
Yeah, truth, man. Thanks. Answered.
Have we lost George?
Okay, so I think George is dropped.
Oh, nah, so I'm here. I was muted. I was really laughing.
Tell that girl to stop disturbing you, please.
Maya, I was weird, bro. But anyways, I was saying that I was really laughing with that. At least Cyprian has a join. He's on the call now. Cool. So let's see. Next was raising their hand. I think Rufaro is it? Yeah. I'll take Rufaro, then Ayanda.
Okay, cool. So I think so far I've been speaking with the assumption that people have ideas and skills. They just need to go out and build them. My question is, for those with the skills but no ideas, what can you say to them? Like, sure, you might say go find an idea, but like, how do you actually go about it? Because I'm assuming that there's a method to your madness. Like you start certain businesses because you've somehow determined that this is a worthwhile idea to explore, or at the very least, you've had that idea somehow.
A good question. Can I start off with an anecdote? I think I sometimes explain myself better when I ramble. The last time I spoke to the same group, I think I was saying something quite similar, and I don't know if my message got across. But as we were speaking, we joined the Discord group, and we were talking about sometimes not overthinking software, and sometimes building and shipping and being able to move with moments. So that particular night, I didn't sleep because I was highly inspired by you guys. I was like, shit, these youngsters are gonna run circles around me. So I created a forum website, right? Called myessayaddress.com, and started a business from scratch, like from absolute nowhere, right? Which is still running today, and a great earner, by the way. Now, starting that particular business was the technology side. Like, how do I get people? How do I get people to actually come on this site, whatever else? So, leverage my following on X and use buying ads. I'm sure you saw some things on Twitter, getting everybody funneled into my sales funnel, which was the My Essay Address website, myessayaddress.com. From that, a lot of people entered their details and privacy details. I'm talking IDs and addresses, whatever else. And the whole premise of the business was, it actually came from, I think I was thinking of Cyprian, because Cyprian had this cool fucking desk, like at a button, and the desk used to rise and shit. And he had bought it off from South Africa. And I think, like, if you buy that from South Africa, now you're dealing with runners and like go get it on the bus and that road port and all this type of shit. Like, can't I take away all the madness and just give the average Zimbabwean and a South African address? And then we will deal with the shipping of the stuff from South Africa to their house in Zimbabwe. Now, as soon as it gets to Zim, I'm very good at that because the Fresh in the Box logistics team, they're very dope, right? 2-point guys now. And they can get anything in Harare to anybody or Blawayo or whatever. But I was like, how do I get it from South Africa to whatever else? And the tech side was, how do I link Vincent or Ayanda to an address that's virtual in South Africa, which was basically just setting up lockers at our crib in SA. And then we're receiving stuff from Takealot and stuff, and all this stuff was piped up. Like, now I have to get it from SA to Zim and in the hands of Taku and them so that they can get into the hands of the customers really, really fast. And the reaction the next day was, 400, 500 people signed on and wanted addresses. And all of a sudden, people started ordering and sending stuff to that SA address. We're receiving, and that's when we had to learn what the lessons we've learned from other business ventures, which was, right, now we receive stuff. The customer journey works like this. They've received something, they're very happy. The stuff has come to your warehouse, you've notified them, because if you don't notify them, they now think they're being scammed. Now that you've notified them it's received in warehouse, you're consolidating the stuff, you're asking for permission to open certain packages, so you put it in the same package, and now we have to ship it. Okay, when we get to the border, what are we doing with Zimra, customs, this and that? How are we getting it from South Africa safely to the Zimbabwe, the Harare warehouse, and then from there, we know the system from then is pretty much putting it in the deliveries, the 2-point deliveries for the next day. And that validated very quickly. And we quickly had to learn, how do we deal with the guys at Baybridge? How do we deal with, with the drivers who are bringing in, who are hauling stuff from SA to Zim? We also started doing the Zimbabwe to SA version of the same thing and all these kind of things. Now, remember, this started off from a tech meetup. And I did not actually have the expertise because I was not a drop shipper, or I was not a person who had done, import to Zimbabwe. I didn't know what import and export licenses were. I didn't at the time, but it was a quick move. And then suddenly people showed interest, and I'm like, shit, I ain't had this much buzz since Zivai, man. Let's go. And then from there, I had to learn on the job until now. There's a whole autonomous team that deals with the My Essay Address situation, right? And so your question is, someone may have the skills but not have the ideas. You just never know where these ideas come from. So what is My Essay Address? Is it a tech business? Well, it was started by a tech guy, but it genuinely is just a courier business. And it's a courier business that people have used now and won't use DHL because sometimes it's too expensive. They won't use runners because they're cheaper, but your shit can get lost on the bus and you have to go to road port and you have to call drivers on the road, and Baybridge is horrible. The experience sucks. So how do we get that whole experience to become so painless? And I know some devs here have ordered from My Essay Address. It's painless, my guy. You order, it's delivered. You get a notification, you get the next notification, the driver saying I'm outside your house. Beautiful, right? No calling bus drivers, no nothing. So where did this business idea come from? Well, it came from talking to guys like yourselves. It was literally the last time I was featured on this space, and then sharing with the guys, sort of like building in public in the Discord channel, and just trying to get, and just see, do I still have it in me to start something from scratch that's been validated nowhere and see if it works. And look, it could have failed dismally and I would have just left it and moved on. But it's a business now that I do not consider a tech business at all. But the underlying infrastructure underneath it that keeps it going, even the simple thing like the air tags that track the packages, the client's packages, so I know where stuff is at all given time or whatever else. All that technology stuff really helps give a great customer experience. But the business itself is not tech, if you know what I mean. Now, anybody else who's not me would not have been able to set up the forms and would not have been able to set up certain things and the automatic WhatsApp notifications and all that stuff. Someone who's not me wouldn't have to do that stuff. And trust me, before AI, I probably wouldn't have to do it myself as well. I probably had to find guys to do it. But AI really made sure that I could. At the time, I don't even think we had Lovable and stuff. I think that time we're still asking ChatGPT to help us with code and cursor and stuff like that. I think it was the VS Code one, Copilot. It wasn't, the tools were not nearly as good as now, but still it managed to develop a business which now employs young people in Zim and in South Africa. We have a team in SA, we have a team in Harare, and it all started from this group of developers talking that particular day. I hope that answers your question in a very roundabout way.
Yeah, so if I understood you correct, it's keep your eyes open, particularly to your immediate circles, to see what problems they might have, which you can solve, and then explore that further.
There's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of problems. I sometimes wish I had more hands and more time and more versions of myself, because I'm constantly pissed off about how bad certain things are and how quickly us as a community could solve thousands of problems every day. And people are willing to pay for it, bro. Like I said, we're not as cheap as runners, we're not as expensive as DHL, we're somewhere in the middle, but people trust us now, and they're telling their friends, and they're telling their friends, and they're telling their friends. And all of a sudden, a real pain point of someone just wanting to order a desk from, that cool desk that Cyprian had, or someone wants to order a monitor from SA. I don't have to call a cousin, I don't have to fucking ask anybody. I literally go on the site, use my EcoCash card, pay, take a lot, give them my SA address, and boom, 2-3 days later arrives in Zim. Easy as pie. And it takes away thousands of problems. And I think the more of those kind of problems that you developers can see, and like I said, not all of them are going to be an app on someone's phone, but there's definitely technology that can take away pain points and make certain businesses more efficient. So you guys will be shocked that I'm involved in concrete, I'm involved in commodities, I'm involved in mining, various things that I'm involved in now. And what makes me special in all the little groups and partnerships that I've made is I'm the guy that understands the technology that can help these things run. And I'm telling you, if anyone ever one day votes me out and says that we don't want Kuda on the board anymore, you know what? I take my Superbase database with me. Simple. But the whole thing now is that I control, which is great.
So just a quick one. So with that frustration of you have so many ideas and you wish you could clone yourself, have you ever considered just throwing them out there to the community to see who can run with it and maybe turns into something instead of waiting until you get the time to get to the next idea that you have that you just haven't gotten to?
Absolutely will follow. Now, anyone who knows me, anyone who follows me, will know that I brain fart continuously on the timeline. I call Mikey will tell you that I call him up, KP will be like, yo, KP, let's do this. So I sometimes overshare to the point of annoyance. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm going to now tell you the biggest sort of growth space that I feel right now, it is all natural language processing and people's ubiquity to WhatsApp. Like with the N8Ns and all these other automations and agentic things that we can do. Guys, why are we not building great infrastructural tech on top of WhatsApp? Like the opportunities there are fucking mind-blowing. And I believe that because your mom doesn't want to open another application. She doesn't want to go to a www. She doesn't want to go there. She wants to play where she knows. She wants to play in WhatsApp. And imagine the kind of things you can automate on a WhatsApp message, especially with these LLMs and these agents and with Zapier and N8N and all these kind of things. I just believe that there's so many things. I think I spoke to Farai about how do we get payroll on WhatsApp, right? That would be so great if as a business owner, I can run my payroll from my WhatsApp and send a message and boom, everyone gets their things and then triggers my EcoCash and pays everybody. That would be fucking awesome. And these are the thousands of ideas that you would tell a businessman, one of these Gananda type characters, and they'll be like, I need that. Because these guys they're running their business off their phones. They literally have no system, dog. And there's 1,000 opportunities to plug in some of these people and really build great businesses for yourself.
So maybe just adding on to that, right, on the power of WhatsApp. I think someone has been building chatbots for a while. Other people, unfortunately. But like there's so much potential there. Was like the most of the times when a client comes through and they're like, no, I want to build an app for this, right? And you look at the target market, you're like, no, the target market probably doesn't have like data, or the target market doesn't want to learn a new interface for a new app, right? It doesn't want to go ahead download it. Maybe even the client doesn't have enough funds to do like Android app or an iOS app, right? So they're like, no, just do a simple WhatsApp chatbot, right? And it works because everyone is there, right? They're like over 2 billion people, right? The majority of the mob is on WhatsApp. And I think maybe just the icing on top is like starting end of last year, WhatsApp made like all the conversational messages completely free, right? So as long as you're not marketing to people, you're just having conversational messages where you are helping them with some sort of issue or query, that's completely free, right? So there's no reason not to build on top of that. Especially like with the questions that other guys were asking, right? No, in terms of like a lot of people are not there in terms of like the smartphones, the data and whatnot, right? So WhatsApp is an easy win. Especially say, okay, let me tap into that, especially with the AI age, where you have everyone shifting to these like you have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you whatnot, right? They all try to have some sort of natural language processing engine where people can just easily chat. So if you can do like your WhatsApp, maybe even hook up some MCPs or something, right? Make that thing as useful as possible, then give it to the users. I think there's a lot of potential around that.
No, absolutely, Mike. The other day I sort of for all precast, so a bunch of guys who will send messages on WhatsApp, right? And I used N8N to sort of be able to set up like support tickets and get it to the right people as far as the, doing pavers and different building blocks and so on and so forth, right? Severe pipes, whatever. And just the dissemination of information from a WhatsApp message to getting the right person was so difficult. But then the automation I built on that N8N, from watching a YouTube video, by the way, because I suck at that shit. Watching a YouTube video, the automation I built that can take a message, get the guy's number automatically from WhatsApp, get the message, transcribe a voice message, put it onto a form structure, get it to the right person using WhatsApp or email. It's like, wow, how much would I pay for this? It's made my life so much easier, right? And if someone had come to me and said, I got the solution, I would have said, dope, my nigga, how much? There's so many of those kind of things that I feel that would just work so well.
Yeah. Right. Guys, I think our time is running out, so I'm gonna give it to the next two people that we have just to ask their questions, and then we do wrap up. And we can try doing another, because Kuda middle tower, and Kuda is a lot to say, man.
I think you got three people. You got Vincent, Ayanda, and Keith Kenneth. So why don't you just do me out?
Yeah. So Vincent, please make your your contribution quite short, and also we go for Ayanda and maybe Kenneth.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Kuda, for the conversation here. My contribution from my side is only on the fact of with the developers, right? I am of the opinion that most of us as Zim guys, we are not really good at marketing ourselves. Having seen myself, some of even CVs from our Zim, some Zim guys here. Yeah, it's very. It's just I don't know what to say. Yeah, so I think we need to be more out there. It doesn't really help to be posting about code, especially when you want to make money with a product. Clients don't care about the code. Stack Overflow is there. They want to see the real value of a product. I think also there are some that would say, I'm not an entrepreneur, I can't come up with ideas. Your service as a software developer can actually be a product that can be sold as an entrepreneur. I think we all know some good companies here in Zim that actually offer development services. I think we have eSolutions, Equals. Yeah. So that's my contribution to say, guys, don't be afraid of talking. Don't be afraid of talking. Most of the things that you want, you are just a few words away from getting them. Just convince someone, then you'll be good. For those who've had experience in maybe working with some of our South African guys there, you realize that we are more brilliant, but they are living a better life than us because we somehow we are too quiet. So if you don't say anything, no one cares. That's the honest truth. I think Kuda is give a good example.
Can I add what you're saying, Vincent?
Kuda, yes.
So I've noticed that a bunch of Zim devs build cool stuff, right? But they will not. I mean, a lot of guys will say how annoyed they get from seeing sort of ads I do for MG accountants or for Gen King or for Royal Precast or whatever. You guys get annoyed, right? But I have now mastered the ability of using the supercomputers against the populace so I get customers. So a lot of the leads and stuff that we get for companies and stuff is literally just buying ads, right? And the beautiful thing about Zimbabwe is that clicks are so cheap, right? You can spend $1 a day, Mikey, and your phone will become unusable in Zimbabwe selling something that takes away a pain point. And don't be afraid to use your cards, guys, and put the booze away. Just save $30 a month, put $1 a day on X, for example. Target. And if you're looking for the diaspora on X, is so cool because you can target everyone Hopo follows who's in England or everyone Strive follows who's in America, right? So if you're looking for even diaspora clients and you're a Zimbabwean developer, you literally can type a message on X, go to the ad manager and target, prominent accounts as people in different countries. And trust me when I say this, if you're linking them to a WhatsApp message, you will start having to employ people to answer those WhatsApps because people are looking for solutions for various problems. You never know where those solutions are going to come, or where your customers are going to come from. So you may not want to build that type of following on X, absolutely. But trust me when I say this, most of the time I'm talking politics and bullshit and fighting with guys online, right? I'm not even advertising stuff. But the ads I do have, you do see my posts underneath prominent people, and that's where we get a majority of our lead funnel is off X and Meta, because sometimes paying for the marketing, and if you have a great product out there, great SaaS or great POS or a great, sorry, I said POS because I just saw Sans somewhere. Your Sans, what's up? So Sans has got a great POS out there, right? If Sans is going to be dropping his POS and he wants Africans to use it, don't be afraid to target people using X ads, Meta ads and stuff, because marketing will kill an introvert, someone who does not like to speak to people normally, like most geeks, because you guys are on the spectrum. Sometimes use the supercomputers against the people so that they can work with you.
Yeah, that's cool. I think one day we're gonna talk about the power of social media and how most of because with me, the thing that I've realized is with people who are like in not even South Africa, but all over the world, most developers, the ones that make it know how to use social media the right way. It's not just always about posting your product and say, guys, I built this, but it's also, I've realized like with trending topics that happen around, if you just go sometimes and give your 2 cents, people can actually check like, wait, who is this guy now? And then when they come to your platform, your profile, they also see what you do, your apps that you've launched or whatever and stuff like that. And that can be free marketing, that kind of thing. But that can be another conversation that we can have another day, just the impact of social media when you're building as a developer too.
Yeah, it's worked for levels in those guys anyway. So what's next? The Yanda and Kenneth?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, this is a very eye-opening discussion. Though mine is a question, specifically for Kuda. You say that you can be an entrepreneur and you are not supposed maybe to have a killer app, but you can offer a service, for example, maybe an add-on service to an existing system. how best now can you deal with the gatekeepers of that particular system for you to earn a killing? For example, let's say maybe the city of Kadoma, they want to install water meters, and then they somewhat have a system, but your particular add-on might be a killer and might be something good for them. How then can you maneuver as a tech person, not a business person? How then can you maneuver and go beyond the gatekeepers and earn a living?
Look, great question. I've never been able to outmaneuver Zimbabwe in politics as far as council or government. That's the honest truth as Kuda here today. However, I do sit on a couple of boards, and I'm old enough now to sort of open certain doors in corporate. Believe it or not, the people that you want to actually link up with, especially the young level, is who. I go drive down somewhere and check out the solar shops, check out the guys doing various little businesses, printing shops. Trust me when I say this. Guys are running archaic systems using Excel. They're struggling to keep their businesses going because everything is rudimentary, it's manual and so forth. You'll be surprised, Ayanda, that you coming in and plugging in with somebody, printing, for example, you could hyper accelerate their business, make it more efficient, find the leaks, aka be the doge of that particular business and be the computer guy who everyone trusts, which is sort of what I've become in my cohort of guys, where we can come in, we can plug in a system, we can run it on a cloud, we can give everyone access on a phone, and everyone's so delighted. And these are the kind of things that they couldn't have done before. And before, guys are trying to get them on Pastel and other things that don't work for their particular use cases and needs. So the honest answer is, as far as Zimbabwean government or council and stuff, even being friends with the mayor of Harare, I've never managed to score a deal with those guys. I wonder how the Ugandans do it. Jacob Mapuli is my lawyer, actual lawyer, believe it or not. And in fact, I've never been able to score one deal. So some of those other issues are maybe beyond my scope of understanding, and others may answer better. But I do believe that there are other people making good money every single day with businesses, and they're struggling with simple things like customer service, ERP, managing their money, managing their accounts, managing invoicing, managing quotations, all these kind of things. And you guys have the capability to build that in a day now and become ubiquitous and part of these of people like that. So don't be afraid to partner up with some of the smaller players because they desperately need solutions with real pain points. Go to any businessman, sit down with them and say, tell me your top 3 problems. And I'll tell you the top 3 problems, 2 of them or 3 of them will be a tech-related problem. I assure you.
Oh, thanks.
Nice. All right, last question. I think we'll take it from Kenneth. Yeah, and then we can start wrapping up. Kenneth.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Loud and clear. Loud.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to appreciate Kuda. I'm not sure if he knows me, but I've been to his inbox several times since around 2020. But basically, what I want to say, I'm not a tech guy per se, but the thing is, I utilize your services to make my business work. I do have an application targeting the diaspora, similar to what Kuda does. And I appreciate the fact that he doesn't see people like a threat, new businesses like a threat. He always shares a lot of information. Sometimes I was surprised and say, this guy is always telling me tips. Isn't he feeling like I might be a threat to his business? I appreciate that very much. One thing I can say, guys, I do want to allude to everything that you've been saying. There are opportunities in Zimbabwe, massive, massive opportunities. It is quite heartbreaking for me when I hear of seed funding happening in Nigeria, happening in Kenya, millions of dollars being thrown. And I ask us being intelligent people, why does the word seed funding never exist in Zimbabwe? But one thing I've learned, I'm going to quote the owner of Instacart, Apo Vameta. He once mentioned that he started 20 businesses and they failed. But upon his last last project that worked, Instacart, he said, if you are going to be a successful person, a successful business person, solve problems that you care about. You know what? You can come up with so many ideas as a tech person, but if those problems do not worry you, if they don't give you like what I don't know what I can call it, but if you fail to get sleep over a problem, then there's something wrong about it. So whenever you are working, there's someone who was mentioning here, whenever you are working, just be on the look for problems. Let's just say in Zimbabwe, I forget something at home. Is there like some kind of tech that is there for me? Let's say I've forgotten my watch at home. I want it at work as soon as possible. Is there anything that is there for me to bring it to work? And then number two, we do have a lot of businesses for small businesses that are sprouting in Zimbabwe. Is there an app that can connect all those businesses in a way that, let's say I've broken my phone, I can just order like a screen cover or anything that can happen in less than 24 hours. We do not have such in Zimbabwe. So we do have like a lot of problems that can be solved by tech in Zimbabwe. But I just believe that we have too much of like tech guys who are not business minded. I can give you an example. We do have a place in Highglen, Kunogadzirwa, like Masofa. There are people who go there and market those like furniture on behalf of the people who manufacture. The guys who are marketing that, they do have more money than the people who are actually making the product. Why? Because they have like mastered the art of making a business out of someone's skill. So in as much as we might know how to build code and do all those things, as long as we do not like worry about the business acumen, I don't think we are going to get there. And then the question that I want to ask Kuda, I heard people talking about WhatsApp and all that. I want to ask, what has InDrive done differently in Zimbabwe? Because we all know that InDrive is working. But I really need to ask, like, their app uses data and everything is working for them. We can all agree that they are making a lot of money and it's a foreign app. And we do have local developers who could have done that thing. So I just need to ask, like, what have they done differently for their app to be that dominant in this country?
Great question. What InDrive has done is, number one, they're legal. So in Zimbabwe, nobody who's driving an InDrive is a legal driver on the road, right? The app itself is hard to deal with because the app is pretty much a WhatsApp negotiation between you and a driver. The driver coming to pick you up in a car without, passenger number plates is in itself a crime, right? So what InDrive has done is they've just penetrated the market and they're willing to say sorry later because they're not actually running legally in Zimbabwe. If they were running legally, they would have the same problems that Via had and that Windy has. And those problems, which is why, for example, InDrive takes 10% from drivers, and Windy and Via used to have to take 30%. They were taking 30% because they had other rigmarole that they had to go to. For example, vehicle checks, they had to deal with VAT, which is 15%, and they have to deal with MITT and all these other things. What InDrive has managed to successfully do is penetrate the market with a great user experience, but there's no legal grounding, which is why today, if you're in an InDrive and you're caught by police, you could actually see your InDrive driver arrested for you being in there, and they generally won't be seen. So that's a great question. But anyway, Keith, we have interacted a bunch on Twitter, and I always appreciate your candor and your questions and stuff. And you're one of the guys that really inspire me because you've seen the big opportunity with the diaspora. And as I, maybe the parting shot from the young great minds that are here in this meeting here today is, remember, guys, there is a remittance loop of about $6 billion a year that's coming into Zim, of people having to do things like pay for rates for their old homes, feed their families, look after their dogs and cattle, build, get stuff delivered. There's thousands of problems that the diaspora has today. And right now, the best way the diaspora is dealing with that is sending money via Mukuru. And you all know the lines on Mukuru and World Remit. It's a mess. If you guys can build solid solutions and be trustworthy to deliver to the diaspora, who are very used to excellent customer service, you guys will make a lot of money. It's hard to explain how low the bar is in Zimbabwe when running business. Smiling at customers, keeping your promises, telling him there's a problem, admitting that you're wrong. These are simple fucking things that many of us Zimbabweans get wrong. Go on Marketplace, where Kenneth was talking about guys selling sofas on behalf of the guys at Glen Eagle and Glenora there. Those guys will post sofas on Marketplace. You message them and they won't respond for 2 days. And the guy who does respond immediately, you start calling him and WhatsApping him and you drive to him and you end up buying a sofa for double the price of the artisan who was doing it there. This is happening every single day, guys, not one joke. So there's thousands of problems that I feel young developers have the capacity and ability to solve, not only with their tech, but with your acumen. You guys are smarter than the average Joe. Don't be afraid to enter some of these spaces with confidence and learn on the job and fail on the job and learn more and fail more and learn more. One day when Mikey we should have a special session for one of the companies, my biggest botch called Sendalighty. It's the most hilarious story and I'm still embarrassed to share it, but I fucking lost so much money there and it was such a great experience. Everything that's come since then has been a learning experience from the Sendalighty moment. And one day we should have a special session on just the mistakes of that and how you can avoid some of those crazy mistakes when you're building technology layered with human resource.
No, definitely. Actually brings Sendalighty because I remember there was the other cassava app, similar concept.
No, we launched Sendalighty and then they launched Tech Nights on top of us.
Exactly. I remember, and theirs failed on a significantly worse level, right? Because they had all the capital.
Like I said, Strive put millions. We were fighting Scrappy. We actually had clients, but we ended up failing pretty bad, including court cases and all sorts, right? And I said, a special session.
Yeah, because the thing is, right? I remember the time they launched. Was I was sort of working close with the team that were doing that app, and they gave most of the Econet group employees free coupons to use it and whatnot. And you'd think that if you give I don't know how big Econet is, but it's significantly big, right? If you give all those people free coupons to use it, you're easily gonna take off and get traction, right? But still. So improve Zim is a difficult operating environment. I don't know. I think maybe let's have another session on that. Maybe a bit later, right? So George is complaining. He's we're out on time. So normally I'd cut off, but there's one more hand from Emmanuel. If it wasn't Gucci Forum face one, I'd be time out. But Emmanuel, please, real quick, just ask your question. Then we'll try and wrap up with in the next 2-3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Loud and clear, bro.
Sure. Okay, so my question is, as developers, most of us, we are entrepreneurial. We have our ideas and all, and we actually have the abilities to build the tech for those businesses. But sometimes it's not just about the tech, because business in itself, it requires more than just that. For example, you can build an app like InDrive, but to actually get it running and actually get people signing into your app and actually make money from that, that's another very difficult thing. You need marketing, money for marketing. You need capital. You need it's very difficult for you to actually make money from the ideas that you have. So my question is, how do you how best can you transform your business into something that can actually make money for you?
Great. That's actually the question why we're here. So there are things that you geeks are going to have to get used to now more than ever, which you've probably been ignoring because of your super skills in actually writing and developing code for applications. You're going to have to get into the YouTube video streams of watching how to get marketing, how to buy ads, and how to market better on social media. There's a whole rabbit hole which has got people equally as experts in your field, in that field, and you should not run away from it. You're going to have to watch the Alex Moses. You're going to have to watch the business and finance people to tell you how to manage cash flow and how to manage money and how to write up a balance sheet and a profit and loss account. These are fundamentals in running a business, because the tech is cool. But what will happen is that if you don't have a strong secretariat behind your business, even let's say a dating app which has to deal with potential perverts meeting up with chicks and causing them harm and they're getting sued, or how are we managing the safety of our users, how are we there's 1,000 things that a business must deal with in the back end if you're delivering products. You know, if like Kenneth was saying, is there an app to pick up stuff and drop it off quickly and at a great price, and you can do it online and so forth? Who's managing the drivers? Who's managing the logistics of those drivers? Who's managing the fixing of the bikes? I think KP and Cyprian and Sandy here, but they will tell you the amount of time, like during COVID, we had 15, 20 people on motorbikes driving around Harare. Not one day went by without, I swear to God, dealing with people and dealing with motorbikes and dealing with cars and shit like that was crazy. KP will remember the DKs and stuff, and something always happened. Like cars were ruined in accidents and all sorts. And this is when we're sitting there thinking, shit, man, we just wanted to build a cool app. And now this cool app is dealing with police and dealing with fucking, road repairs and road recovery and this and that. It's crazy. So we can no longer afford to be lazy, because you got the acumen, you got the brain power. Jesus, we're going to have to go in there and actually get acclimatized and get used to some of the subjects we loathe. Talking to people, closing the deal, negotiations, dealing with sales. I can't say that enough. The amount of time that we deal with sales, because sales is the lifeblood of every single business. Doesn't matter how cool Fresh in the Box is, didn't matter unless it was making sales. And the tech didn't matter. There are days when the app would go down and the WhatsApp would be the fallback, and we'll still manage to make sales, because sales is the cash that kept the business going. And it's really important that we actually start to understand some of these fundamentals. So now that you have AI, now that you have all these great tools at your fingertips, now is the time to become the multiplication that you actually can be, so that your great ideas can be backed up by great business acumen, so that you can keep going, feed your families and go to nice schools and pay your medical aid. This is going to be fundamentally important, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was once like you. I was a geek who gave zero fucks, hip-hop head, cussed a bunch, did not know that one day I would have to look at customers who are wrong in the eyes and tell them they're right, because I want their money. And these are things I had to learn, and you have to learn these things the hard way. There was one more question about operating in Zim seems a problem, license fees, taxes, etc. Absolutely. Zim is prohibitive and it's got a lot of problems. But like I always say, problems garner solutions. Some of these businesses we start, my essay address, for example, I didn't know the legal ramifications of doing what I was doing. But believe you me, after a while of getting into the crust of things, talking to delivery good guys who do the job route and all sorts, you get on top of the legality slowly but surely. And so that you can reduce the risk for your clients' packages and so on and so forth. But we started it without knowing some of these things, but had to quickly become compliant. And when you're compliant now, things become easier, because then you can run your business properly. So it's not going to be easy, gentlemen. Today we had a great SI that came out, which is fantastic. We can now charge at our own rates, which is something we couldn't do at Fresh in the Box. Remember, so if a client said they wanted to play Zig, we were basically fucked, but we had to offer it. So we had to find ways of making Zig as hard as possible. It's like canceling an Adobe subscription, so that we didn't get it. But if we got it, we were screwed, because we had to use the bank rate. And these are some of the things that I'm now so pleased that as rules change and there's things called policy perturbations in Zimbabwe, we've got to have to be nimble and fast and be able to adapt so that we can run businesses in Zimbabwe. But please do not do not oversimplify this. This is going to be an existential moment for developers. You're going to have to be multifaceted because you guys are brilliant. You are the best of the best IQ-wise in our country. Let's get some of that IQ and plug it into the backs of the danda heads who run commerce in Zimbabwe. Because some of the guys I run with, if I go to the general meeting on a Friday with the guys who are making millions of dollars, those guys are not clever, I swear. They don't give you, he's talking football and junk all the time. They're not clever people. I love talking to devs because we can talk real depth and philosophy and shit. Those people have one skill that you developers don't. They're not perfectionists. They don't wait for the time to be right. They take risks. And with that comes real reward. And now you guys plugging in the backs of that can actually become really, really lucrative for the developer community. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks so much for that. I think this is a masterclass. I think if we keep going any longer, we now just need to take the content and put it on YouTube and charge over like $9.99. So I think like for a free session, this is the best we can do. Thanks so much. I think everyone in the chat, just take a moment, just give Kuda a round of applause, just so that he knows what he came through. In terms of wisdom, knowledge, I think there are certain things that I wasn't thinking about that I'm like, okay, I probably need to re-advise, like just how I was looking at like the marketing side, like the ads. I hate ads, right? So when people say like they hate your ads that are always popping up, I do not know why I am a target. But I know like every other comment is like, okay, open your essay company right there. So yeah, it's always good to get like that perspective. So thanks so much for taking the time. I know this is like you
guys have like 2 minutes and I can show you the leads from those ads. Like, do you have like 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Let me open up this one real quick.
Let me just check. I think I disabled screen sharing. Let me just turn it on.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. So it's always good to like see like the practical side of those things, because like there's things that we are not taught. There's things that we just see, oh, the ads, and like what's the purpose of that, right? So at least you know, okay, ads actually convert. And like if you have your products, and as much as I can just tweet about it and whatnot, right? Like it's easier to just say, okay, let me just put targeted ads and let that like just funnel users into my app.
Okay. Can you see this? Okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to invite. Going to
Something's coming up.
Okay. Just quickly, right? So these are ads that came from Meta and X and stuff, right?
Okay, now we can see now.
You know, you can see, right? So I'm just gonna listen. I keep scrolling down, right? So I don't give away too much information about people. But if you have a look, right, you will see like 831, 833, 833, 835, 835, 835, 836, 836. These are all leads, okay, of people. If you look, are coming from ads, right? And these ads get handled first by an AI and then handed off to one of the sales representatives. Do you understand? And all using WhatsApp.
Impressive.
Can you see? This is all lead. Now, this is $1, $2 a day of leads of people who need to bank outside Zimbabwe because they want to buy big purchases or, you know, save money or buy houses in South Africa, whatever. It's just thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Now, they're not following you for politics. They're not whatever. But when they see the ad and it's the service that they need, is a pain point. But they're tired of because they're tired of what's it called? They're tired of the Zimbabwean banking system, and it's a simple conversation. We became agents to FNB in South Africa. They gave us the point of presence license, and now you can actually onboard people and businesses and stuff onto their platforms, and then we use their tech to onboard people. Dude, it's just like I said, the ads is $2 a day on X will find you the right person. Now, when people don't, if it doesn't match the keyword, if it doesn't match the right demographic, they don't see it. But for someone like you, young entrepreneur, dev, we want you to open an account because you need it. Absolutely. I mean, your wires just got closed, Mikey. Come on, dog. So,
yeah.
So when I say certain things about ads and you see these ads and these ads get frustrating to you, remember, they're not necessarily for you, and be comfortably tell them I'm not interested in this ad, and they'll ignore you from that point on. And, you know, and people who do not scroll past our ads, we start to eliminate them from our system anyway. But the thing is, once somebody sees something and they click into your funnel, Now they're your lead. Now you can communicate with them. Now you can try and sell on to them and all these kind of things. All of a sudden, that's the lifeblood. And what you're saying is if you get 300 messages in a day and you convert 10% of those, that's 30. If everyone's paying 50, $100, you know, and maybe $50 is your margin, and, you know, can you see how that works, bro? How else do you get those people to come into your inbox? And that's why I'm saying learn other skills apart from just the code, because you'll be surprised that the dating app, for example, buying the right leads, targeting the right people on X and on Meta, Instagram and stuff, you'll be shocked that you grow from the app that had 100, 200 users. Now you have 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 users. You know, I think at the height of Africa AI, Ziva, at one point when we didn't have ChatGPT, there was 23,000 Zimbos using the Ziva app, which was awesome, right? And it's like, that was again through a great ad and marketing campaign. So, like I said, do not be afraid of using some of these tools.
Nah, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. I think thanks so much for that. I was saying this probably like your third time just taking time off to like show the community, right? And I know the last time you even had like an in-person thing. I know some of the devs didn't show up, but for the guys who did, like we're always coming through and like we're always like getting knowledge, getting wisdom. And I think more and more like we're as a community we're growing. Like you even see like in terms of the attendance numbers today, that we're slowly growing, right? So thanks so much for that. I think on the marketing one, we'll probably just have to invite you again. So yeah, please ask the wife in advance for like 2 more hours with the devs of marketing.
No, of course. I mean, marketing is actually something I really love now because it brings in marketing is the funnel that brings in the sales, and then from the sales comes the operations, which is where your tech comes in, and then from there the logistics. So it's really part of it's part of the process flow. So maybe next time let's go through a process flow and of one of our businesses, and then you'll see how we go from marketing to sales, from sales to ops, from ops to logistics to aftercare, etc. And that's just the whole business process flow. It's easy.
No, definitely.
Oh, bless
You
God.
don't know.
Yes.
You don't know. Connected Kuda have edited his X there. I think that's where you're most active, right?
Our chances, yeah. X WhatsApp. I try to answer everybody, but you know, sometimes I may skip stuff, but I definitely try to.
Yeah, people do not know this, but Kuda is like the closest version we have to like the levels, like 215K followers. except it actually produces like useful stuff.
Nah,
Yeah.
noise. Noise.
Violent. Look, guys, I hope you can quickly decipher that. Sometimes the Mikey we see on X, for example, is not the Mikey in real life. Neither the character
Exactly.
Button Son. It screams for attention and does its job. But my kids don't see that version, and my mom and my business associates and my customers don't see it. So forgive the brashness sometimes. It's just like
Yeah.
No, it's cool, man. Maybe just as we're closing up, right? Okay, I don't know if Kuda is still here. I'll ask Kuda to like add with a few physical events coming up like in the next 2-3 weeks. I'll ask Kuda to add them up on Chiround as well, so that everyone just has awareness of those events that are going on physically. If you can, please come through. I know Anana George are Harare, but for those, Anana George are in SA, but for those in Harare, please come through. Let's network, let's interact. I don't know if you still have Tapio and the call. I think Tapio can just tell us about the AWS event that's coming up as well.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Tapio, and I'm one of the leaders for the AWS community group in Harare. We are hosting an event on the 3rd of May, which is next month. So if you are interested, pull through. We're going to be hosting it in town at the Old Mutua Innovation Hub. Feel free to come. There will be snacks, swag, some t-shirts. But my t-shirts are Chagupai. And yeah, lots of fun. We're going to be bringing industry leaders who have been using AWS, so you get to know how people are actually using AWS especially in the fintech industry. I feel like banks in Zim, correct me if I'm wrong, but are the biggest adopters of technology in Zim right now. So I think it would be nice to hear from someone who works in a bank to hear how they're using AWS We're going to have a tech demo. We're going to be specializing in DevOps. Those who want to know more about DevOps or just curious of what it is. So please come through. Once again, Old Mutual Innovation Hub, 10:30, 3rd of May. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Tabio. Hope to see you there. Yeah. So everyone, thanks for coming through for Meetup. Kuda, once again, thank you so much. Always appreciate like the love you give to the tech community. So yeah, everyone who took time out on their Thursdays. I know it's a Thursday, but it feels like a Friday. So for everyone who took time out on their Friday and didn't go out with Tree and you're here, you're just chilling with us, interacting with us. Right? Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you. Please do the rest of your nights, and yeah, feel free to interact with me if you have future sessions you want us to have. If you want us to invite, interact with me, interact with George. But other than that, thank you so much, guys. I don't know, George, if you have any closing remarks.
No, man. I'm just grateful for Kuda for making time. Like 2 hours, bro. You know, this is the knowledge that we should be paying for. You know, a TED talk like this. But thank you so much, bro, for always coming to share knowledge with the other guys. So that everyone, you know, you lift as you rise. And yeah, thanks for that, bro. And everyone who came through.
Blessings, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
All right, thanks so much for that. Guys, cheers. Feel free to just say hi and bye as we close off our session.
Hi, bye.
Hi,
bye.
Bye. Thanks, Jim.
Hi, bye.
Thank you.
Hello world.
Hello world.